Hello, this is Through a Therapist's Eyes on YouTube Live. I haven't said Facebook Live in a long time, have I, Neil?
Until just
I have
now.
not until just now. Now it'll start happening the next few weeks. We need to give her a
Stop. Okay, I'm done. I'm done.
Anyway, while the world's now looking at us, listen, if you're finding us for the first time on this YouTube Live, this is before we turn the live mics on for Facebook or for Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We'll turn those on in a moment. This is a good way to connect with us, interact with us as we are recording the actual show. We love to have feedback and pull you into your real thoughts as we talk about it. Don't stay stuck on what sucks. That's what we're going to be talking about today. Mr. John Pope is hanging out with us.
Good to be with you all today.
And Miss Victoria Pendergrass is really
Hi.
paying attention. She's not on the phone.
Hey, now I'm posting the link to our story so that people can join in.
What about Grogu? Are we posting him this week?
We'll do Grogu in a second.
You're off your game today. I'm worried.
You want to smile?
Yeah.
Okay.
We just did a live promo picture, I gather. I don't know.
Yeah, it's going on our Instagram stories.
We are on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Where else are we?
TikTok. We're on TikTok.
Oh, God, we got a TikTok thing now.
We do.
How's the TikTok thing going?
It's going.
Yeah?
We've gotten some views. I am a little behind, so I need to catch up. And
I think you're on Podkicker. I put you on Podkicker.
Podkicker?
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
It's a podcast platform.
How did you put us on that?
No, I didn't put you on it. I just downloaded it. That's what I use.
Oh, it's on.
It's on.
Oh,
yeah.
I've never heard of Podkicker.
Yeah.
Hey, Neil, we're on Podkicker. How cool. It's like insurance.
if I say
managed care.
if I say tune into tonight's episode right now, is into that's two separate words, right? Tune in to tonight's
Yes.
episode. That's two separate words, right?
Tune in.
Tune in
Two.
to. Okay.
Not TWO.
Right. No.
Just to be clear.
T-O, okay.
T-O.
Or TOO.
I guess that's a good question. Into. You can't tune into. I guess you could do that one word.
Then there's a tune in.
That wouldn't
app,
work right,
too.
though.
I can tell you how many followers we have on the Tiki Talkie.
How many followers do we have on TikTok?
8.
8 followers. We are new on TikTok.
We have more followers than we are following.
Well,
we only
that's
follow
good.
6 people.
Because if you follow us, we'll follow you, she said.
Yes, I will. I will follow. I would try to.
I think Amazon wants to buy TikTok.
Oh, gosh.
Jeff Bezos does.
For real?
Yeah, for real.
Always
Because
something.
they don't want the Chinese algorithm, but I think they're somehow going to figure that out so that without the spies on TikTok.
Oh, boy. Ooh. Glad that I turned that on before we got the live show. That was loud. All right, we are ready,
let's
Neil.
get her going.
Yes. Hello, this is Through a Therapist's Eyes past April Fool's Day.
Oh, praise God.
This is I got nailed on April Fool's Day. This is April the 3rd, and this is Through a Therapist's Eyes.
Did someone get you on April Fool's Day?
With episode 306. I'll tell you in a minute then. The topic today is don't stay stuck on what sucks. And we're going to talk about getting stuck into our minds and brains and stuff. So this is where you get insights from a panel of therapists, but not a delivery of therapy services in any way.
Correct.
That's Victoria's secret. This is Victoria Pendergrass hanging out with us.
Hi.
Secret. It's a secret.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I even went there. So
What did I say wrong?
no, I honestly didn't click in
she
my
needs
brain.
wings.
She needs wings?
now. So
Well, I'll go buy some wings if you want me to buy some wings.
And Mr. John Pope's hanging out with us, I think. I don't know who we are right now.
Yeah. I'm here. Thank you.
Let me see. We are on YouTube now. Please subscribe. Tell a friend. We haven't had a new subscription in a couple of weeks, so we need you to tell somebody, get somebody to click 5 bells, or John's going to come for you. But 5 bells, five stars,
Stars, right.
bells. But click the bell on
and
YouTube.
Also leave some comments. That's fine too.
Yeah.
Good comments.
But only good. Yes.
Yeah.
Contact at throughtherapisteyes.com. And can't forget the book, Through a therapist's eyes, re-understanding your marriage and becoming your best as a spouse. Still out there and available. Pretty excited about it. And actually, we're going to refer to the first book today a couple of times, actually. I'm pulling from it. Through a therapist's eyes. Shocker that would start the same for that. Re-understanding your emotions and becoming your best self. So,
Yeah,
two cool
I'm
books.
just still stuck on the fact that I learned a couple weeks ago that the book came after the podcast.
The
I guess-
podcast was kind of a developing for, I
Yeah.
mean, it was all sort of together.
That's at the old, at our old location.
Yeah, I was always
Uh-huh.
under the impression that, and probably most of my clients, if they're listening to this, I do apologize because I lied to you because
Oh, no.
I was always under the impression that the podcast came from the book.
Guess what, Victoria?
What?
This is the human emotional experience, which we endeavor to figure out together. All right? I did get got on April Fool's Day super quick because we have a lot to talk about. But it was kind of fun because my kid called me, and he's my informant, John. So he informs me whenever something happens with our sports team. And he called me, and I couldn't answer because I was in session.
yeah.
And he shot me a picture. Rich Rodriguez, WVU head football coach, came back home to coach our team. And then, shocking, the news is he's leaving the university. And I'm like, what? And I actually took up my brain power, Neil, in the final 5 minutes of that session thinking, that can't be so. That's not right. That's not true. So I couldn't get a hold of Aaron, my son, and I typed my progress note. It was 4/1/25, and I thought, wait a minute. That is, wait.
Gotcha.
So he didn't get me. He got too. He got it on barstool.sports.com. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, so he
Yeah, it was.
got,
Yeah,
Yeah.
he got.
and he spread that to you.
Right.
Look, a
He
key
wanted to
example
share
how
the misery.
misinformation gets spread.
Yes,
is-
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Look, my favorite one is just the brownies.
The brownies?
Yeah.
What happens with the
Girl
brownies?
Scouts.
No.
What
like
the brownie?
That's
You
where my
bring-
brain went too, John.
you, like a pan of brownies, and it's a pan of brown e's.
Oh,
Like the letter E?
The letter
So in
E.
other words, they have a
Or
pan and it's got some.
and it's
brownies
got
in
cut
it.
out brown e's in it, and someone will leave a sticky note like brownies in the break room.
This is the world's worst ever Fourth of
No,
July.
it's not.
April Fools.
No,
Fools.
it's
Is
because
it a good one?
I think over the years we have learned that we still need to be appropriate with our April Fool's jokes. Like we're not doing "I'm pregnant" April Fool's jokes anymore.
Why?
That's not cool.
We can't do that?
That's not cool. No, there are too many people who deal with infertility.
I have
and
totally
get
done that before.
and pregnancy issues.
Nobody's ever
that
played that on me.
It is.
No? Oh, I
it is
totally played that on my
not-
in-laws.
Not cool anymore. We don't do that. We're still
Oh.
respectable about our April Fool's jokes.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. I'm old school, I guess. Sorry for that.
No, they're really old school. They're 19th century.
Or are they?
Yeah.
Oh, is that what we're
It's
doing?
new Victorianism.
Oh, we're reverting back. The old
Right.
has become the new. So we've reversed trend from old thoughts to
Or
now
the new
are back in.
Puritive-
When are the bell bottoms
Puritanism.
coming back, John?
Yeah. Oh, those are wonderful.
You love those?
Oh, love those.
Didn't anybody not catch Kendrick Lamar's flare boot cut bell bottom whatever jeans he wore at the Super Bowl halftime show?
Kendrick
and
who?
he rocked them.
Kendra who?
Kendrick Lamar.
Kendrick Lamar. He's a rapper.
He did.
The
you
halftime
know
show?
what I'm talking about.
I didn't at first, but when you said Super Bowl, and I was like, wait a minute, that must
I
have been
can't
the
believe
actor.
I knew who he was.
I'm impressed,
I'm
Jonathan.
so proud of you, John.
All right, let's get busy.
Yeah, sorry, we're a little.
Three questions.
I promise I took my medicine today.
Three questions. Did you?
Yes, I did.
Three questions on don't stay stuck on what sucks. What is one negative thought or situation that you keep on returning to? I want you to think about also in the show as we're talking, how has staying stuck in this mindset impacted your relationships or your personal growth? And also, what is one small step you could take today really to shift your perspective? So let's understand the stuck mindset. I actually have a full day conference I'm kind of proud of having delivered on 30 strategies or whatever to help clients get unstuck. So this is I should need
You're
show
the-
notes for all this today, right?
You're the content expert.
I guess. I don't know, John. What's behind getting stuck in a broad sense? Because we see this in therapy rooms all the time, guys. So Victoria and John, what what leads your brains in thinking about like
Y-
how
you
this happens?
My experience, first thing that pops into my brain about that is that it's given to them, and it's the early tapes or or let's say the files that are downloaded,
Right.
and they because children a lot of times they'll get this is that I'm fat, for example.
Oh,
So that
gosh,
gets-
yes.
yeah. So that gets into their, and therefore I'm ugly. And
Worldview.
Worldview, yeah. And so it becomes, they internalize it.
Core beliefs.
Core beliefs, you're right.
Yeah, and you know that's perfectly in line. I mean, I think that what you're touching on there, the fancy way of saying that is you just described implicit bias, right?
Right.
I mean, things that get into indoctrinated into our thinking from.
Right.
You know, I've really come to find that highly critical parent figures in our life, powerful negative force in for us. You know, it just creates a lot of those negative thinking. So, yeah, Victoria, what's your brain do in a broad sense with this whole thing when you think about your clients just all the time? You know, being in stuck spots, what creates it?
Sorry, hopefully that wasn't right to the microphone, but I mean, I think it definitely, I feel like I've been noticing it more with some of my clients lately. And I don't know if it's just like the season of life right now or what's going on like politically or other things going on. But like, I feel like I do have quite, like, I could probably list about 5 or 10 in my head or that like kind of feel like they're stuck, that they're not, you know, like they don't really know where to go, what to, like, you know, how to navigate situations.
It is a prominent issue right now. You know, overload, I think, is a part of what you're talking about. You know,
Yeah.
we've talked about, you know, the age of information and being overloaded with a plethora of choices, massive amounts of options,
Almost to the point where you freeze.
directions that you can. Yeah, you can't handle all of the things coming at us.
I mean,
It's just so
even
much.
even sometimes as simple as like, what do you want for dinner tonight? If we're like not cooking at home, well, there's just within, you know, I live in, you know, G-Town, Gastonia, so like just within driving distance.
Oh my gosh.
There's like 20 options, and then I'm like, okay, I mean, I literally need an app to just be like make an executive. I need someone to make an executive decision. Which is
AI
what
will tell you where to
what
go,
we call
John.
it at our house. Someone just pick a
We just had
restaurant and go.
Where I grew up, we just had a Dairy Queen, you know.
You know.
I was thinking Elby's when I grew up. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
But,
go to
like,
Elby's
I mean,
or the
so
steakhouse or
sometimes-
Shack. you know?
Sometimes it's not even just the bigger things. It's like even, you know, you go in your closet in the morning and you're like, I mean, there's a reason why people like,
blue shirt, brown shirt, black shirt.
oh my gosh, the inventor of Apple.
Steve
Bezos.
Jobs.
Steve Jobs. Why can I think of his name? Steve Jobs was such a, like, you know, he was he wore basically like the same thing all the time. Like, because he talked about how it was like one less decision he would have to make in the day because if all he had were these black shirts and black pants or whatever, khaki pants, whatever
That has
it was.
nothing to
that
do
he
with
wore.
Asperger's.
Yes.
Well,
Sorry.
It's
might
like
be.
a uniform.
But
That
I mean,
was-
like, so sometimes it's like we do get very like, well, now I spend 20 minutes standing in front of my closet trying to like pick what do I want to wear, the green shirt or do I want to wear the gray shirt or do I want to wear the plaid shirt or
Yeah, so there are a lot of ways that we get stuck in the way of overwhelm, but there are other things that I think happen, John, that you touch based on. By the way, we've got cool articles that we're building into our show prep and all. I want to make
Yeah.
that point. So if you're really interested in these topics and you go to the website through therapisteyes.com, we've got some good articles that you could pop and really kind of dig in
Ooh.
and take even a deeper dive than what we
yeah, I can attach them to
dive
some
in.
of our
Are
posts.
you okay today? What?
Look, I'm so sorry.
What you got? What you got?
I said I can tag some of them in some of our posts, like
Oh,
add them
100%.
in.
Yeah, that was random.
I could have kept that to myself. Sorry.
We gotta get you.
What is
Neil, would you please
happening?
go give Victoria some coffee?
No, that's probably not what I need.
It's a stimulant. It works differently on ADHD, Victoria. That's what I learned, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it probably wouldn't have an effect on me. I'd be just as whatever I am right now is what I am right now.
We love you, dear.
Help her
Thank you.
focus.
Okay, listen. So, exploring some psychology behind this is an article that I got from the New York Post, I believe. It's where we pulled it, but it's really focusing on being negative, like being stuck on being negative. And so, you've ever heard, John? Would you consider yourself a negative person?
No, I
A
would
negative
not.
Nancy
I
But
asked.
or Nelly.
I asked John because he is definitely the opposite of a negative Nell.
No, I'm not a negative Nelly.
Right.
I believe very much. I think you can have the stinking thinking.
Oh, yeah.
And so you get stuck on the negative stuff, and it's a spiral.
It spirals
It
bad.
spirals down.
Do you know any negative Nellies?
Oh yeah,
Right? Stinking
Yeah.
thinking folk.
right. And you
I had
wanna-
never heard that before.
Stinking thinking?
Yeah,
That
I
is
like it.
That is an AA term.
Is it an AA thing? Okay.
That's and it's a CBT term. And,
Yeah, it's primarily.
We want to
Yeah.
be positive polys.
Is that a thing?
No, because I
Yeah.
just created it in my
That's
head.
very
That's
good.
what
I like
thought.
it. But Pollyanna, you're getting it from a Pollyanna
Am I?
viewpoint. Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
Well, Pollyanna was a character from the turn of the last century. She was
I don't know what that is
okay.
either.
Well, anyway, she was always very positive.
Okay.
Yeah.
No matter
don't
what
be
happens.
Pollyannish. You hear that
Don't be
expression?
Pollyannish.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't be Pollyannish means that you're too positive, as
Oh,
opposite.
like it's
That's
overly
negative
okay,
Nelly.
In other
gotcha.
words, you don't look at reality.
Which is
Oh,
interesting. Yeah,
okay.
you're naive and pie in the
Gotcha,
sky.
okay.
Which is interesting, guys, that I oftentimes, even in my therapy, work with people. Like, I use these expressions. I use these. You're good with names of song, John. Human beings know these things. We talk about these things because we experience these things.
Yeah, because we connect with it.
And we connect with it. And so we need to understand what's driving this. And so this article was cool, excuse me, in exploring like what drives us into having a negative focus or actually a positive focus. Quote from the article I thought was cool. Being a negative person or a positive person isn't set in stone, and usually a really simple trick that anyone can learn could change your mood, your perspective, and even your whole life, according to a brain training specialist. Now, I thought that was a pretty big statement. I was curious what they were talking about, but question for the panel kind of is, what creates this negative mindset? What creates us stuck in this? And what do you think the tricks are that we operate with to try to change this process?
Sorry, you want to go first?
No,
Wait.
you go ahead.
I think, and I was just talking to a client earlier today about like nature versus nurture, and that
I think of that a lot.
that topic. So along those lines, I think that it is
Well, real quick, what is nature versus
okay.
nurture for people?
Nature versus nurture is this concept that nature is like the biological like you are who you are because of your like genetics, your biology, like those type of things. And then nurture is you are who you are because of the environment in which you were raised, like how you were parented, how you grew up, and then that has an impact on who you are like today and how you approach situations and different things like that. And so along those lines, I think a lot of negativity and this mindset of like negative Nellies or whatever comes from your environment. I don't think that people are born to be like innately negative. I think that is something that is taught or that is
Much more heavily
picked
weighted
up
one way.
on by others, right? It's the very same thing. I mean, this might get a little too political, but like it's the same thing I think about like racism. Like I don't think people are born racist. I think people are taught and learned that like that is a way of thinking, you know?
And I don't disagree with you, but I think part of it is that we are our wetware, our hardware. The wiring is that we look for differences because it's a survival strategy, and so it's easier to get into the negative downward spiral. But no, I agree with you. It's not necessarily we're born racist or we're born.
Right, because
Well,
okay, I think
hold on, Victoria. Explain wetware and hardware because you've talked about that before, but not we haven't lined that out a lot. So, what do you mean by wetware and hardware?
Yeah, wetware is or the hardware basically, but it's our brain. It's how our brain is organized.
That's the nature.
Nature, and that is the and philosophers have talked about this as well. And there's categories. So we're sort of innately able to recognize certain aspects in our lives or in the world in order to categorize them. We put things in categories. This is dogness. This is catness. This is a reptile. This is a mammal. So we're kind of innately designed for that. But we also have, but we can change some of these aspects, and this is where I was talking about the wetware, and that is our software, basically how we think about things.
Yeah.
And so we can go overcome what would be a propensity for discrimination.
So it makes me think of Neil might be the only person that has ever seen this movie, Mean Girls.
Oh,
No.
I totally saw Mean Girls.
Okay, so there's this scene. There's
I don't know why, but I totally saw
Okay.
this.
Brittany Murphy was in it.
there's this
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
Lindsay Lohan.
Lindsay Lohan.
Okay, so there's this scene in Mean Girls where Lindsay Lohan, one of the main characters, her name's Katie in the movie, she gets to hang out with the Plastics, I think they're called, which are the popular girls.
Cool
and
kids.
she thinks they're like perfect, beautiful, like there's nothing wrong with them. And she goes over to Regina George's house after school one day or whatever, and the three girls that she's with immediately stand in front of the mirror and are like nitpicking and saying all these negative things that they
Yeah.
like about their bodies, and she's like does this little voiceover about like what, like she didn't expect that, and then they all look at her expecting her to also say something negative about herself, and she ends up saying something like silly that I can't remember what it was, but it's that whole thing of like, it's just
Question
like,
being, what do you focus on?
right. Well,
is
and
that
I
a,
think,
is that a,
and
is
I
that a
think
main
it's
piece?
well, I think it's so, and I talk to my clients about this all the time. I think that it's just easier for people to point out negative things. People have to work harder in their mindset or how they think to focus on the positive. And I don't know if y'all, I just think it's even about like you go up to a stranger on the street, you ask them name 5 things you don't like about themselves. Bam, bam, bam. Here's
Right.
5 things.
Th-
Now tell
absolutely.
me 5 things that you like about yourself.
Stutter. Stutter.
Well,
Stutter. Right.
Yeah,
and then they have to like think about it.
That goes to my point.
It goes
Yeah.
exactly to your point, John, and that's what we're really getting at. So when we siphon this down, when we really get onto it on point, John, you're right. The hard wiring, there's science to this. The trick refers to, from this article, practicing what we focus on while our brain is into 2 neurological processes, activation and installation. We have neurological process that is designed. Why, John?
For
The hardwiring.
hardwiring, right? Hardwiring breaks things into categories and that sort of thing. It's discrimination, and so, but you can overcome that with your wet wiring,
Well, but what I'm looking at is for the primary purpose of protecting us.
protecting us, keeping us safe out of the. Let's say if we're in the savannah,
Survival of the species.
right?
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's good. I mean, because we have to stand up and look and see who's going to come after us, and
We look
for exceptions.
towards the negative for purpose of survival. Is that a succinct sentence that fits, right?
A succinct
Like,
Yeah.
sentence.
This is the psychology, and this is why all therapists see this, Victoria pointed out. You know, you ask somebody 10 things that you like, and they'll sit there all day struggling.
Yeah.
You know, and so we want to build that up. You know, and this is why I want to highlight the thing that I did with the book.
Right.
You know, taking those 4 areas. I know I talk
Yeah.
about it a lot because it's such a profound thing. I mean, the Through a Therapist's Eyes book is therapy moments. You know, there's like 50 of them or whatever in the book. And then I took all the chapters and tried to put them into however many categories I could come up with that seemed to fit most of the chapters. And I came up with 4. And focus points was one of them. Right? Valuing yourself, stopping and reflecting on emotions was the other 2. And the 4th I'm going to leave because at the end of the show we're talking about that. But your focusing is a choice. That is a purposeful, directed effort that Victoria is talking about, being like spending energy on that, like really working to be at that.
Yeah, no, exactly. It does take more effort, doesn't it?
It really does.
Intentionality to do
It's
that.
not normal. It's not natural.
Well, and that's what turns people off about it sometimes is
Absolutely.
because it takes that.
It's not mindless, it's mindfulness.
Well, that's one of the big things that we hit for. That is totally foreshadowing on how do we manage this. And mindfulness has become a big thing because it really works. But let's go a little bit further and say, the typical negative coping skills that we use. People do all sorts of things psychologically and dynamically. I talk about it in that conference that I provide for clinicians. Go to PESI, look up Chris Gazdick, and get the training. You'll
Plug.
get your CEUs. Yes, that is a shameful plug, Victoria, isn't
No.
it?
We need to have a bell.
We need
and
a
we
bell.
just ding every time we plug something. We dings it out.
Yeah, but it's a good training, and there's so many different dynamic things that we on a deeper level won't cover here during this show are psychological. I mean, there's repression, suppression. There's different
probably do,
draws towards
several episodes on this.
behavioral topics. Yeah, there's lots of things. But if you just look at the primary things that people do, drinking things, or using drug, buying things we can't afford, promiscuity, the
So
the
the
something that I
process
don't-
addictions, gambling.
well, addictions are different, but
Yeah.
I mean, we're using things that we do, and getting into fights and fighting is another one of these maladaptive, negative coping skills that we do. I never add that to this one, but buying things, promiscuity, comfort, eating, drinking. Yeah.
Because I think in terms of fighting, when I do couples, is that they use that as a defense so that they become aggressive. They, being one of the partners, go after the other, and then you don't have to go in and dig deeper or to do that intimacy.
Right.
You don't have to do the hard work.
But what happens when we have that fighting or that eating, to eat our feelings away or whatever, is it doesn't work and it perpetuates negativity.
Right.
It's what actually creates stuckness, even though we're doing it to try to cope. So that's a big point I think that we need to make. And then, actually I didn't do this, but it occurs to me, this is the second part of the fourth thing that I just mentioned with the book, but hurts unresolved just keep hurting is what I wrote in my thought with this presentation. Well, that's why we stop and reflect on emotions. That was one of the four main categories: value, self, the one I'm not saying, focus points, and stopping to reflect on emotions, John, is a key component of getting and being well, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, people don't even pay attention.
Right.
So, and then there's this other thing, we've talked a lot about learned hopelessness and, shutting down. How many people shut down out there? We just shut down and avoid and create space.
I did it 30 minutes ago.
You did. You did.
We got slightly political.
Well, we were
and
having a
that's
conversation before
conversation.
recording.
Before the mics came on, we were kicking that around.
Pulled out my Kindle and I was.
And
She
it
was
really
gone.
wasn't that threatening of a.
It
wasn't
wasn't.
that
It
bad.
really wasn't.
But she did not want to participate.
because
Nope.
the blood pressure goes up.
Yep.
And, yeah.
And that can create stuckness.
Yeah.
Because then if you have something in your life that you're really avoiding, that you don't want to talk about,
But that actually needs to be addressed.
and I can't tell you how many times in our therapy rooms you come across significant relationships where something has never been talked about. Let me say that again. I can't tell you how many times in our therapy office in significant relationships where things have just never been talked about. It just blows my mind when we have that happen.
Well, and I think what this article is kind of trying to get at, or at least what I think it is, and I've said this before on the podcast, is like changing your verbiage on how you do things, specifically confrontation. I have switched it with like addressing an issue or addressing the problem rather than calling it like confrontation, because that does have so many negative. That's all negative. Nobody thinks of confrontation and thinks of something positive.
If you had a choice between challenge and confrontation, which word would you use?
Challenge.
Challenge.
Yeah, 100%.
That's
Yeah. I think we have to, I mean,
Sorry, that might be down the wrong rabbit hole, but
I don't think it is. I think it's just a different piece of, I guess what I'm struggling to kind of put into words is I want people to allow whatever their emotion is to come up. You know, instead of avoiding, you know, you challenge yourself. I have no problem with confronting yourself, you know, with what it is that you need to make happen, you know, and if that works for somebody, then that's
Well,
okay.
let me even say that our whole education system, when I taught, is that is that talk about your strengths, and you say automatically your
Weaknesses.
Smart.
weaknesses. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
how
already
it's
you're already going to the negative
Yeah.
aspect of it, as you could pose to say how, and that's why I use the term challenges. In other words, say that let's how do you build your strengths? How do you go and you do this as opposed to just focusing in on the weakness?
Okay.
And so
So you're saying that, you know, that perpetuates. I guess I could see that, John.
sort of a
It
negative.
perpetuates a focus on what we don't want to focus on when
Right.
we think of confronting.
right, because you want to avoid that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I could go with that. Yeah, because you know and that really can. Yeah, I guess I could see that more and more as I'm thinking about it and hearing you. Thank you for that teaching moment, because you know it does, you know, fit into the hardwiring as well about survival. I mean, this is why we look at the negative and focus on it, because you know we know that can hurt us, and so we want to challenge things to change.
When I got my doctorate, and I was studying for it,
And also, you're pointing out talking in academia on a doctoral level or a college level, and
right,
stuff, right? Yeah.
right. So when I was studying, I had to take statistics, and I called it sadistics.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was convinced. I was in the 11th grade or 10th grade, and I was doing geometry and trig, and I was at a chalkboard, and my teacher called me stupid, and I froze.
I think you've mentioned this before.
Yes, I did.
You did. You have. Yeah.
Yeah. So
It was a poignant moment for you.
yeah, and so I had that negative thoughts in my brain.
Yep.
At that point, I could not do anything right, and I was going to fail statistics as a result of that.
That
I
is
mean,
an example of
30
the
years later.
That is an example of the neurological process that the article we were talking about a little
Right,
bit ago,
right.
the hardwiring, where it gets installed.
Right.
Now, oftentimes parents will install, they don't intend to, or they intend to, but we don't intend to negatively. There's an activation, some situation got your attention,
Right.
then the message got installed, and then 30 years later,
Here we are.
Here
still
I am.
there.
I'm going to do that. And it was interesting. My professor challenged me. He said, "I want to challenge you." So that's where I picked that up.
Oh, okay.
Is the idea that
Nice.
and so you are smarter than you think you are. You can do this, and I made an A.
Oh, wow.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny, John. I kind of had it. Okay. So I love this. This is great. Let's play on this together, because you had an external source that was validating and supportive
Right.
that challenged you.
Right.
Okay. I want to make the point that you can do that internally also.
Yes, I agree. 100%. You can do this.
And here's how it happened for me. So I struggled, progressively got better in school, but I had hearing problems, and I think that really put me behind. I also feel like I have a learning disability, and that
Communication disorder. You can find it in the DSM-5 TR.
there's stuff.
So-
And so I struggled especially in junior high and grade school and stuff. And I remember very specifically when this really began to turn around for me, because I got pissed off or something happened. Somebody may have done this. It may have been my parents, it may have been a teacher. Somehow, John, I ended up with all of the smart kids in honors biology on my sophomore year. And I internally said, you know what? I'm in the class with Melissa Puz. By the way, I love you, Melissa. I've thought of her, all these years, because I saw her as one of the smart people. I never remember
Yeah.
names, but I got to do as good as I can do in this class, or gooder. That's right, I said gooder,
Gooder.
John. No, I'm making a joke and being light about that, but I really wanted to do well, and I studied down. I looked at each paragraph, read it, and then said to myself what it was, and really worked hard. I got an A.
You got an A.
Right? I got an A.
Yay.
Right? Just like you. And it came internally. Yours came externally.
Well, it initially came externally, but
And then
I internalized
You
it.
internalize it. Okay,
Right.
great.
So, no, I internalized it as a result of someone saying something and giving me permission. So you
Okay.
can give yourself permission,
Right?
okay? But sometimes it takes somebody to give you that affirmation that you can actually internalize it for yourself.
Tell us more about the permission piece, because that is a huge component to get unstuck.
Right. And I think the permission is that here was a person that obviously was a lot more educated, had a lot more training than my teacher in the 10th grade. And so it was speaking from authority, I guess, in a sense. As somebody that I responded well to that, I was open to this and to that suggestion, and I opened that up, and then I gave myself permission to do that, like you did with biology. So
I feel like there's a really, really big piece. I was just listening to you with this permission piece, and there's something about the human mind that has always been intriguing to me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to butcher the times of this, but the reality is there. So it's running a mile.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think you know where I'm going.
yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So for eons, when did the Olympics start in Olympia? What year? I mean, one of the standard competitions in the Olympics has always been to run a mile,
yeah,
right?
or
To run-
26 miles.
to run a mile. Well,
marathon.
specifically, I'm talking about
Yeah.
this one event.
1 mile.
One
mile.
mile. And the fact is, there's years and years and years and years and years we could not break, and it was thought to be impossible.
The 4 minute mile.
That a human being
Yeah.
could run the 4 minute mile. I thought it was 2 minutes. So it's 4.
4 minute
Okay.
mile.
You just
Cunningham
can't
was his name.
physiologically
Yeah.
do this, was the prevailing belief up
Yeah.
until whenever we broke that barrier. I'm just going to make it up and say it was 1960. I don't know
It
when
was 50. I'm sorry.
No, go for it.
I love
Wait.
it.
It's like 53, 54, something like that.
Okay, 1950s.
Yeah, early
We
50s.
human
yeah.
beings broke the time and ran a mile under 4 minutes. Now, do you know what the regular time is? Like, you suck if you don't get around what?
I don't know.
2
The
minutes.
Olympics?
2 minutes. Yeah.
No? What is it? It's still under 4, just barely? 3:43 is the world record.
Much better though.
Okay.
That's
But I am correct to say, Neil, that if you're in the Olympics and you're competing, you better be right around 4 minute mile. You should be
Yeah,
able
we're
to
not running
beat
an
it, right?
8-minute mile in the Olympics.
No,
No,
we're
no,
not
I-
running a 5 minute mile in the Olympics, right, Neil?
I ran a mile and a half for 15 minutes.
Okay, but we're losing the focus. The focus is what creates human ability to do that.
Yeah. It's that challenge.
The awareness that we
Awareness.
can.
Yeah.
It opens the door.
It opens the door. It
I had
gives
this
you
imagery
permission.
of opening a door.
It gives you permission
Permission.
that this is something that is possible. And I want to point out the power of hope.
Okay.
Right? The power of hope. If you have a belief that you can do something, then you are that much more likely to do it. If you have a belief that you cannot do something, then you get stuck in the negativity. You get stuck in what sucks. I can't do it.
Okay. All right. That's the other thing, and that is taking the leap of faith, and that's using another term.
Okay. Gotcha. Go with it.
Existentialism, and that is that there's a point where this is even your mind says, I can't visualize myself doing this. But nevertheless, I will leap out in faith to do it. And then you find out that you had erected a limit to yourself, and so you leap out in faith, because you have that hope, and you jump out, and you find yourself into a new paradigm.
And I didn't die.
And you didn't die.
The hard wiring that has kept me stuck until this day is no longer bound.
So you go beyond your limitations, and you go even beyond your imagination, and you leap out.
Right. Our old co-host, not that he's old, he's my age, so he's definitely not old. But
And
Craig,
I'm old.
Craig
okay?
ta-
I was reminded of that.
yeah, I know.
Because,
Neil hooked us up with that earlier. But no, Craig would tell us about 20X. If you do something, and put all your effort in it, you're actually capable of 20 times that.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you think that you can only lift 20 pounds, you could probably lift 20 times that.
Uh-huh.
Particularly with an adrenaline dump. The Victoria's eyes just went weird. Mothers have picked up cars when they have a child,
sure.
right?
Yeah, for sure.
You have an ability that you don't even know.
And you don't even have to turn green.
No, you don't have to turn green like the Hulk. Okay, why do we care? Why is this so important? So we need to think about why we don't want to stay stuck. Like, what happens when we focus on the things that suck and stay stuck
Because
on those things
no
that
progress
suck?
is being made. We become stagnant. Like there's.
Keep going.
I mean, what comes to mind is we often talk about having like that 1, 5, and 10-year goals. Like,
Yep.
It's just like and then you're not like, well, then what's the point? Like,
So you're not growing, you're not progressing,
Yeah.
you're not evolving, you're staying the same and repeating like insanity as the
potentially
definition
repeating
is.
bad habits, repeating, whatever. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's what comes to my mind.
No, my mind suddenly connected with, I guess it was White, with narrative therapy. You actually rewrite your story.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
narrative therapy. Yeah,
Narrative
that
therapy.
is a therapy theory. We won't go into it. But
Right.
Right.
But the idea is that you can actually rewrite the story, and it's not changing facts around. But one of the greatest falsehoods is it sucks, life is horrible, it's always going to be this way. And so that actually is a falsehood. You can actually change that.
Yeah.
And reframe it and reinterpret it.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of, this is what we've been talking about. What are you focusing on?
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot of effort, but focusing on what this story that you went through means to you. Like, you have domain over what your sexual abuse history means, but you get to determine what it doesn't mean. And if you don't do that work, then it means you're ugly, or it means that you're non-desirable, or it means that
Worthless,
you're...
whatever.
And the
whatever.
person that perpetrated that on you, let's say an aggressor or somebody that the abuser does that, they're still winning
Even 20 years later.
20 or
Yep.
30 years later.
50.
50.
Because here's one of the things that really sucks about this. When you are stuck, I hate this, but it's a reality. When you are stuck on what sucks, if you don't do this process or some level of mindfulness or therapy or walking through it, it stays stuck forever.
Yeah.
Don't think this naturally goes away. If you're not purposeful about it, you might not even realize that you have a core belief. You may not even realize that you have the worldview that you have. Which, back to your point, racism is a good example of that, Victoria. There are many people that have racial overtones and don't even know it. Generally speaking, if you're one of those people that says, I'm not racist, but blah, 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 well, chances are you have implicit bias. You have some things that are, here's the word, right? Installed in your thinking. That happens, right?
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that because that, and the interesting thing I'm seeing this is what you're doing. You're just stimulating these thoughts in my head. Is that
That's good, I
you
think.
you actually gain agency.
Right.
The ability to, and I know agency is a jargon word.
That's a
now,
good one.
but it's a good word, and it says that you have a choice. You can choose your own way. You can choose to turn your back to this is the way it's always been. This is and you get stuck in that thinking, and you break out of that mode, and you shed that skin like a snake does or has to. And I'm not.
You evolve.
You evolve, right?
Here's a warning, though. There is a phrase. Have you guys ever heard this in therapy? This phrase drives me crazy. I do not like it. Therapists, we talk to each other and we say things. It's kind of rough communication because it's a way that we cope, and we'll speak lightly of something that's very serious. But I hate it when a therapist looks at another therapist and says, "Oh, Sally, oh yeah, she's the one that refuses to get well." You ever hear that, John?
Oh God.
You should see on YouTube his reaction, right?
Yeah.
The whole body just was jolted back. It's terrible, isn't it?
Well, it's a
Drives me
form of
nuts.
fatalism.
It drives me nuts. What do you mean by fatalism?
Well, it's basically condemning Sally to not be able to grow and to be able. It's a person. The person's already given up on Sally.
Right.
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 And so subtly reinforcing
Right.
The Sally
The installation that you cannot
installation.
change.
Right.
Right. And it's unfortunate because it's a frustration point, and parents will do this to kids like all the time and whatever. But the thing is you need to be careful, because when you don't even know that you have these installations,
Yeah.
you're kind of stuck with them. You don't know that you need to make this focus to make this purposeful change.
Well, and I think that even when we have that way of thinking, whether it's a therapist or clinician who thinks it, or it's a different, whatever, is like, I think that we then unconsciously or subconsciously that affects how we like treat that person.
Oh yeah.
Or how we do therapy with that person.
Probably.
Like if I didn't like, hey, I have Billy Bob over here, refuses to, change, whatever, then like I'm gonna mostly, whether I realize it or not, I'm probably taking that into session when I work with this person, and then it's having a negative impact on their ability to like be successful in therapy.
So you're saying the same thing from a different angle.
Yeah.
and
Well, you
whatnot,
did study reality therapy.
I have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And
In other
they
words,
teach it
what
at
is
school.
Glasser?
Yes.
And basically said, never give up, never give up, never give up.
I remember that. Yeah.
Right.
Right. There's lots of costs here, guys. Analyzing the impact on relationships, and we're talking about the lack of personal growth, the physical realities. Y'all know anything about cortisol? I mean, the body is in a stress hormone reality, and if you're living in a stress hormone reality, I'm not smart enough on all the biological levels. I'm going to say that long exposure to cortisol is very bad for you, right?
One of the things, there's a little bit of study here too, and that is that one of the reasons why people develop PTSD in wartime isn't just because of the traumatic events, but it's being able not being able to get to sleep, not being able to relax, going on for 36, 48, 72, 96 hours.
Yeah.
And that your body has got that stress level all the time, and that becomes a new reality for the person, and so those levels remain elevated.
And it's. Do you know anything, John? You're pretty smart to have maybe gone deeper into that. Like, what does it do to the body?
What it does is it actually causes premature aging. It raises your blood pressure. Cardiac. It causes hardening of the arteries.
Leaky gut. Am I correct?
Leaky gut. Yeah, all sorts of things.
Reality.
Digestion. Yeah. There's also the sense that your heart races all the time. You can't insomnia.
Golly,
Yeah.
all of that from stress hormones.
Stress hormones all
Right?
the time.
So,
Right.
and people live this way, John. That's what's like, wow, right? When you focus on what sucks and you get stuck on that, like, you live that way.
You live that way.
And there's
And
a
that
lot of
becomes
people
your
who are in that
reality. Yeah.
condition,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I tell you, this is a powerful reality. So we're really wanting to shift our mindset and develop an awareness about
Yeah.
this. Go ahead.
I was just thinking that when she lifts up the cars, just think about this, and you save your toddler, your
Okay.
son from it. Okay, imagine you having to stay that way all the time.
Oh gosh.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's a
absolutely.
person.
That's
and so
a good
that's
point,
part
John.
of the aspect why some of these folks are PTSD and why they self-medicate, and with
Well, we go to the
alcohol.
negative coping skills.
Negative coping skills. Yeah.
Yeah. Boy, that hit you, didn't it, Victoria?
Yeah, that sounds awful.
Yeah. I could just see that put that in perspective, being a new mom.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, yeah, great in the moment when I need to be able
Oh,
to
hell
lift
yeah.
the car off my toddler or whoever. But yeah,
But now you can develop a reality that the people we're literally doing therapy with are feeling that way. Not quite that
Yeah.
dramatically, but
yeah.
pretty close. Really, pretty close. And you wonder why we're not sleeping. You wonder why we have these relationship over and over horror shows. You wonder why your parenting relationship, again to relationships, it has irritabilities just crazily building up.
Yeah.
Our base, when I was in the Philippines, we had a revolution during that time, and they had the New People's Army surrounded the base, the naval station, and we were blockaded for 6 weeks.
Oh gosh, you were
Yeah.
in the blockade?
Oh well, yeah, I was on base.
my
yeah,
gosh,
and we couldn't go into our waters got turned off and
That's
all
kind
of
of
that.
terrifying.
Didn't get a lot of play on CNN.
No?
Back in 1986.
I never heard about that. I was alive.
Yeah. And part of that was you had to do extra duty. You had to basically you were on all the time, and you couldn't relax, and it was really hard.
24/7.
24/7.
Yeah.
So-
On alert. On
so
alert. On alert.
So that's when I was.
And we know people that have trauma, they have that condition where their bodies really are just revved up. They're just revved up because they're always looking for what's going to harm them next. And you find that, for instance, a lot of time in substance abuse families we've talked about lately, and just different examples of that. So, recognizing this negativity, becoming aware of this enables us to engage it. There's another cool article that we have about this awareness. I thought this was a cool, quick list about recognizing that how this negativity exists in your life. So number 1, overemphasizing negative feedback. Okay, thought that was interesting. When you overemphasize in negative feedback that you get, how many people trip out during job performance evaluations, right? When they get a bad mark, that trips people out.
Fitness reports.
Right, or fitness reports in the military, or of course grades in school.
Yeah, great.
Second, persistent intrusive thoughts, like when stuff repetitively, intrusively gets stuck in your mind, and you see this thought coming back. That indicates
clients who had loved ones die, parents, and they can't go to sleep because they'll say, "Oh, I'm this age and I'm going to die."
It indicates a negativity bias focus, right?
Right.
Third, difficulty enjoying positive events. Things just don't have a zeal for you. That happens with depression, but that can also, in depression, my gosh, is it not almost universal when somebody has depression, they have a negative focus?
Right.
It's almost because their body is driving that?
Right. Or they're driving their body and they're depressed as all
Sometimes
get
it's
at.
that.
Yeah, and they can't relax. They can't let go.
Yeah, sometimes it's that. I can't tell you, John, how many times people have come in thinking that they have depression, and I identify anxiety. It's not really a depression condition. It's anxiety, and you're stuck in that cycle, that negative cycle.
You're right.
For heightened sensitivity to criticism, not having thick skin, like basically bleeding on the drop of a hit or a flick, with your skin. And being oversensitive to negative criticism indicates this. And lastly, pessimism and low mood. I can't tell you how bad pessimism is. That negative Nelly, like you were saying. It's just this indicates that you've got this negative bias problem, and hopefully we're talking about what do we do to get out of it. Hopefully you're hearing what do we do to get out of this cycle throughout the show here. Yeah, there's a big reason why we want to get out of this focus on what sucks thing, right?
Also, just being stuck just doesn't sound fun.
No, it really doesn't.
It's like that record that just keeps skipping and it goes back to the same thing over and over again.
Or like being stuck in like quicksand or something. Like that doesn't sound fun.
It's really debilitating, Victoria. I don't know. Even you listening to this show right now might think, well, I'm not really sure what these guys are talking about. I know that I experienced that. Well, because you're in the moment and we kind of forget how bad we feel when we feel bad, I think.
Yeah.
Unless it's so common, and then we just kind of, I like the word numb out on it. Sorry, Victoria.
That's okay.
We kind of suppress our feeling and emotion about it, and we don't realize, it's like when you're come in from a cold play and snowball and ice ball, and you put your hands in cold water, it feels hot because that's what you perceive. So this pessimism, it can get pretty dark. And it can take a long time to get out of that cave.
Yes.
If you're not paying attention.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, I just knew a couple of people when I was in seminary, and that it was always, there were a little clique of people that they were always looking at the negative aspects, and they were rebellious against the courses. They were the theology courses or the Bible courses or the pastoral care courses, and it was and then they started going after who was uncool, and that it was amazing. It was a very un-Christian way of attitudes and mindsets.
Yeah.
And it was just sort of. And I found myself being drawn into that a little bit. I had to get out of it.
Well, that's dangerous, isn't it? You know what I mean? Choose your friends wisely. Have you heard that expression?
Yeah.
Because we really are susceptible to the environments that we put ourselves in. There is that
who you hang around.
Right.
Yeah, you start to resemble that.
You really you almost get inculcated into that.
Yeah.
To use your word, John.
Yeah.
Inculcated.
Inculcate. I love that word. So.
I used it correctly, right?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I'm very proud. Yeah.
In other words, it becomes part of who you are.
Do you guys, as a part of this panel, have thoughts, or, I mean, I'm sure that you do, so I'm just setting you up to be able to share. When you watch people, doing the work that we do is so humbling.
Oh, yeah.
It's so powerful. It's like no other experience, I think, a therapy relationship is. And we kind of forget that. But to watch the success stories of people getting unstuck, what is that like for you?
It's like, well, I don't know.
It makes me smile. I literally had a client today.
Real time.
Well, when she checked in, how she checked in, like, I literally got teary-eyed before her. Like,
oh, wow. Okay.
It was just like, and it's progress. Like, it's just so refreshing. And I think it's just, I love it. I like being able to see it. And I think there is a part of me that kind of feels good that, like, I had a part to play in that, like, as their therapist. And so, yeah, like, we definitely see it. Like, and it's definitely, I make sure to provide, like, tons of positive encouragement and praise.
It's a powerful thing to see.
Yeah, same thing. I'm going to say that sometimes when I have a client that recognizes that and admits that they have a serious mental illness, and like they're perhaps have lived with bipolar for many years and tried to deny it, and or tried to drink it away or whatever, and they
resist and fight against.
And then when they see it and they go, aha, and then their eyes light up and they actually start to get better. And they say, how can I, now that I'm starting to recognize the signs of this, how do I, and the symptoms, how do I, and they build momentum. Build momentum, and they have agency. So it's not
empowerment.
It's not fatalism. It's not, they're not predestined to not get better.
To me when the lights come on, John, you see these things that you're saying, like it's like, wow, I am empowered. I feel like I just had to actually, what occurs to me in my 4 o'clock today was we were dealing with that a little bit. She was dealing with trauma for the first time in a new way, and she was just like, you could just see, like, wow, I could deal with this. It's powerful. I'm telling you, it's just super humbling.
And you could see the lights come on,
right?
Come on inside of them, and they get a new paradigm. How's that for another word?
Right?
Yeah, a new reality.
It's a new self.
Yeah.
I don't want to be too dramatic about it, but it's
well,
life-changing.
It's a new self.
It's life-changing.
It's
absolutely life-changing. It's a turnaround. So there are some things that you can do. Engaging in mindfulness, we talked about, setting small, achievable goals, building momentum, seeking support from therapy, mentors, support groups, friends. AA is what works best for most with alcohol issues and whatnot. But there's things that we talk about all throughout, peppered throughout the show today, that turns this stuff around. I want to kind of highlight again what the part that I was missing. Right, the 4 parts of the book: valuing self, stop reflecting on emotions, focus points, and the 4th one is action points. Right?
Action points.
Taking an action.
Yep.
And I like to talk about, in one of the chapters I know I wrote about, I recall, like, if you don't know what action to take, just take an action, and you will begin to subconsciously work around workarounds and solutions and such.
If you don't know what to do, just take a step forward.
Right.
And your body will, I mean,
Your body, your mind, your
Will
spirit,
follow it, yeah.
your subconscious will guide you. Yeah.
Okay, and we're going to get into politics.
Uh-oh. How are we doing that?
Franklin Delano Roosevelt,
Oh.
he did the New Deal, and
Yeah.
he said, let's try everything.
Okay.
Let's try anything and everything.
Love that.
until it make it work.
till it
Make an
sticks.
action.
Make an action, made it work.
Throw
You know?
things against the wall and
Yeah.
make it stick. Absolutely. And see what works. And I love that ingenuity. I love that spirit. I love that I can attitude. I love this not being stuck on what sucks reality. And you too can do that. It seems dark. It seems impossible, but absolutely many before you, and you will do that as
Live
well.
as though you're in that reality, even if you don't feel like it. You live as though, and that's not being Pollyannish.
Naive.
It's being naive. It's having to get on a new track, and it's sometimes difficult to do that. And so you have to keep doing it until it becomes a part of you.
Right.
And you inculcate it.
Love it. You've worked the word in,
Internalize
Victoria.
Okay.
All right, it is about time for the shrink rack up, Victoria.
Dun-dun-dun.
She tried to do a drum roll, but it didn't
Yeah, on
work.
the
You
pillow,
want
that
to
didn't really work.
redo this somehow?
No,
you know,
I'll just say dun-dun-dun.
dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun.
Dun-dun-dun.
The shrink wrap up is where we present the wrap up of the show, kind of what stuck out on our mind. Neil gets to decide, who presented it, what the best point was, how that worked, and we were on a running competition. John, I think you got me twice. I bested you, and no, you bested me. That's what I meant to say.
No, I was.
Oh, am I
saying
wrong?
it.
Yeah.
No, you're right. You're right. But
It doesn't matter.
it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. I'm not keeping score.
Well, we are, John, whether you want to or not. Just like the brackets.
Okay.
Sorry,
Oh,
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm in charge. I'm in the lead. I'm in the lead of the
I'm
brackets.
heartbroken over my bracket.
All right, what's the shrink wrap up? Who's going first?
Go for it, John.
No, okay. Is be willing, take up the challenge, take that leap of faith, and take the challenge to believe in oneself, even when you're not even aware of it. You go ahead and you try it and you do it. So that's it.
Okay.
That
May I go
sucks.
second?
Yeah.
My point, I think, is really understanding the implicit bias reality. I really feel like that is a huge component. I love what you're saying, John, about take charge of it. But you have got to understand that you can get stuck and not know it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that bias, that implicit, that indoctrination, that invocation of things that were done to you around you really needs to be dealt with. Otherwise, you will be stuck and not know it. That awareness is so crucial in this process, I feel. And Mix Victoria.
I feel like y'all are going way too long, especially Chris. Anyways, fun, short, and sweet. Is that being stuck is no fun, so don't be afraid to go seek out help for it. I mean,
Being
We d-
stuck sucks.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's all I got. I'm out of it today, so that's all I got.
too.
That's all you're getting from me. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna give it to Victoria. I think it's short and sweet. Let's not ruminate on it. Just basically, it sucks. Get help. Move forward. So I like it.
We need some qualifiers here, Neil. We need to work on this, John, I think.
I'm gonna throw this pillow at you.
We'll give you the
No,
win.
no,
he,
no,
he is the
Victoria,
choiter. Absolutely.
Okay, congratulations.
Thanks.
We got claps. We got goes. Yeah, we could be descriptive a little bit, I think, particularly if we have extra time and time to go at it. Listen, I hope that you understand the power of this topic in your life, because it is a really, really hurt spot that we see people struggling with in the therapy environment. And so really what we're really working on is helping you to identify this and understand this. And you hear some of our excitement as we've talked tonight about your ability to deal with this. Like, you really can have a life-changing event where you don't stay stuck on what sucks, even though life up until today has felt like there's no other options but that. But the reality of it is you are empowered. You are engaged in your life. You can overcome the things that have been infiltrated into your spirit. So we encourage you. We're with you. Please stay with us. It's really worth it. It's humbling to do what we do, but we know that this stuff works. So hang with us, hang tight, hang tough.